are going for a whole hour. Straight dog talk and the song. Jump on in and speculate. Show up on time, don't be weak and late. We are community, so don't hate and learn to cooperate.
Man, it is already Friday. It has been one crazy week for me. We had our girl finally give birth. Let me bring her up here. Our girl give birth from the breeding we had with this boy right here, Hector. And let me tell you, we had 7 pups, and man, a lot of lack of sleep, to say the least. We got Most Hated Native in the house, Miss Shaytree, like always, Nadies. We got J.R. Barriga, 8. All right. Bringing my guy from the back, Vito Alu. He is an American bulldog breeder. I will be asking him some questions, and then we're all going to dive into the signs and symptoms, subtle signs and symptoms of a bigger health issue with your dog. Vito, how's it going, my man? Can you hear me? I cannot hear you. Your mic is off. You're muted. I'm going to push you.
All right.
There you go. Better? She's about to push you back, cool. Man.
I can hear you good.
Well,
I had to drive
man.
I drove to my brother's house because I live out in the boondocks and I don't have reliable cell service.
Oh man, you're kind of like me, except we got Starlink from Elon Musk. We got that. I want to say either end of last year, early this year. Changes everything. It's a game changer, man.
Yeah, my sister got that, and I did a podcast, and it didn't work. She's kind of in between. My brother lives more in suburbia, and I live way out in the sticks, and my sister's kind of halfway. But right. I had to end up turning it off. So I don't know. I thought about getting it, but I'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, well, I could tell you, man, we got it over here, and it was just night and day, man, completely.
That's awesome.
Let me ask you, man. I know you're big in the American Bulldog community. How long have you bred? Give us a little bit of a background on you.
I got my first American Bulldog in 1988, and I bred my first litter in 94. So it's been over 30 years. I'm like, I think I'm up to 14 generations of my bloodline.
Wow. 14 gens. Let me ask you this, since you're 14 gens in, how many generations were you in where you felt that you had your look or your stamp, and what was that stamp?
Well, it's kind of an evolved story. When I started, in American Bulldogs, there's like 2 different types. Basically, there's probably 15 different types, but there's two basic types. And back in the day, they called one Johnson and one Scott, and then they went to Classic, Bully, and then the other ones are just called Standards. So I started out with a Bullier type, which is basically Mr. Johnson put an English Bulldog in the 70s. He did breedings with Dave Levitt, the guy who invented the Old English Bulldog. So his American Bulldogs are about a quarter of this dog called West Chance High Hopes, which is just an AKC English Bulldog that they say was big. He was like 85 pounds, which happens in English Bulldogs. So I bred that kind of dog, and I probably got about 3 generations in, and I was known for freaky, bully, monster big dogs. When I first got in, I was a young guy, and
I
never thought I was going to be a breeder, and everything was about the looks. But the problem was I got 4 generations maybe in. I had some cool looking dogs, but I started to realize that the bully side, the Johnson side of the American Bulldogs, they have bad breathing. They have issues. They have soft palates, small tracheas, nares that are small. The whole nasal cavity is just smashed like an English Bulldog because there's probably more than 25%. I'm just saying there's 25% of that one dog that he put in. And
Okay.
I bred to this dog. I had a really nice female that was my foundation female, and I wanted to breed her to a dog that was pretty much the same type as her. And it was a type that I'd never seen. Maybe it had been around before, but I'd never seen really tight skin, really short fur, big hump neck, big hump shoulders, big fat,
Mm.
thick rear. And I found a male that was just like her, but thicker and bigger. It's a dog called Mufasa.
Okay.
So my whole thing was to breed to him, and I tried like 3 times. We did AIs because he was so muscular, and maybe because she was big and close to his size, he couldn't tire. And this female would not get pregnant when she got tied. So uh, eventually, what I did is I bred her to her nephew, who tied her, and uh, just started taking Mufasa kids and Broadzilla kids. My females was Broadzilla, and bringing them back and forth and working it that way. Well, I produced this really nice dog, sold to these people in Virginia, became friends with them. They had like a 9-year-old and an 8-year-old boy, awesome people. And they'd leave the dog out in the backyard when they go to work. And it was not a hot day, it was like 75, 80. Well, the
Mm.
neighbor was putting a roof on their garage, and the garage was a detached garage that sat on the property line. So the dog flipped out all day, barked and barked. Long story short, these little boys opened the gate, came in the backyard, and the dog was dead. Died of a heat stroke. Well,
Wow. What a
that
way.
shook that shook me to the core. I mean, that made my blood run cold. Uh, Thinking, these poor kids walked in to see their dog dead, and at that time I lived in town, and I had a little 5 bay kennel that I built next to my garage, and it had air conditioning,
Mm.
heating, doggy doors, and so I didn't have dogs outside. I lived more in suburbia, so I had about 8 dogs back then. So I had to watch every bark and everything. I had to clean the poop up before it hit the ground. But
Oh,
so things changed. So now all of a sudden, I had a totally different breeding goal, and I didn't know. I didn't know there wasn't a book I could read. Of course, we didn't really have the internet back then. So how do you take a breed that's got major breathing problems and
hmm.
correct them? And American Bulldogs, they have breathing issues because they have the English Bulldog traits, and everybody was selecting for those traits. Every other giant head, a short muzzle, blah blah blah, all these traits, which are cool. I still love the look, but then they have a lot of drive. They have a lot of prey drive, and I say they have some of them have a lot of stupid drive. Like they get hot. They're barking at the lawnmower or whatever. They get hot. They don't have the common sense to go sit down. They'll just kill
Mm.
themselves. They'll just keep going and going and going. And so, I mean, a lot of people in the breed hate me because I talk about it, and they think that I'm hurting sales or whatever.
Of
But
course.
I tried everything to correct it. you know. And like I said, there's no book. There's nobody I could talk to. How do you correct breeding in an American Bulldog that's got, so it took me about 15 years, 20 years to get any kind of progress because first I outcrossed and I thought, oh, I'll just outcross and then breed back to my stuff. Well, I produced a dog that could breed good or one here and there, but then they produce craft breeders, dogs that sound like a chainsaw.
Right.
So it was tough. And eventually, probably about 10 years ago, I got obsessed with it. I got to the point where I wanted to produce an American Bulldog, a bully type dog that could hunt as a catch dog, like the standard dogs do. And I did it. They weren't as extreme, but I produced dogs that could do it. Of course, nobody wants those dogs. Nobody wants to pay it. They want to pay a lot of money for the big English Bulldog looking monster. So, and so I did it. But what happened was
Mm.
I got lucky with this weird dog that I produced uh, called Meathead. He wasn't the greatest dog. He was a big, good looking dog. He wasn't structured or anything. I was all big on structure. But I don't know why he had an enormous trachea. I never really noticed it till he used to bite at water hoses and stuff. He bite his water buckets. He just bite at water. And one of the guys that was at my house was taking a picture of him right when he had his mouth open. And I look at his trachea and it's like huge. And so I
Mm.
started line breeding on him, and that helped. The other thing is I outcrossed the standard blood enough to where the percentage of that English bulldog in my dogs now is low. It's probably under 10% or 12%.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, it does affect, it affects the look, but not like people think. People think, back in the day, people are like, oh my God, you bred to that long-nosed standard dog. Oh my, you'll never get a bully dog again.
Right.
Well, I've done all kinds of crazy stuff. Select for long muzzles, select for dogs that aren't really my type, but I thought maybe they have the nasal capacity, the breathing, the heat tolerance, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. But I have right now I have a subline that is 13/16 what we call performance standard lines blood, and
Mm.
only a small percentage of bully. And they don't look exactly like the bully stuff, but they're cool. They got a really thick, wide muzzle, wide chin, blocky head, and I'm I'm gonna introduce that back into my other stuff eventually, and hopefully I can retain some of that stuff. So
You know, Vito, one of the reasons you're here tonight is because in the American bully world, things changed earlier this year when the ABKC, which is the main ruling registry, if you will, um, decided to recognize the Brazilian bulls. Now, I was very happy with that happening, whether it was part of the American bully side or whether they would be their own breed, because I feel that the American bully XL in particular needs competition in order for breeders to breed better. So it turns out that the Brazilian bulls, the main difference between them and uh, the American Bully XL is the fact that the bigger dog that they used to breed to was actually an American Bulldog. Whereas on the American Bully side, it was bred to everything. It was prostituted, basically.
yeah,
If it was a mastiff, it was a greyhound, it didn't matter.
I've done stuff like I've gone to ABKC shows. I actually had a razor's edge male. Uh, I don't
Okay.
know, 15 years ago. I used to breed these little alternative bulldogs called Alu bulls, and they were like
Okay.
my version of an old English bulldog. I got in 1999. I started messing with it, and it just satisfied the mad scientist in me, I guess. But my dogs were a Staffy bull, the little 27
Yeah.
pound
Of course,
Staffy
we know
bull.
those. Yep.
I bred those. I used English bulldog, and then I used my smaller bullier American bulldogs. And matter of fact, I produced a female called Panda. And there's a
Mm.
gal that used to be into American Bulldogs that I was friends with back in the day. Her name's Jamie Sweet. And she did old English Bulldogs too. And she always had these freaky English Bulldogs that could run up an A-frame and swim and do stuff. So I placed a dog with her for a puppy back. That dog's name was Panda. And I think her daughter did all kinds of weight pulling stuff with her. She was only like maybe 35, maybe 40 pounds. And eventually she bred that dog to a Frenchie, I believe, and started those shorty bulls, those
Oh,
little shorty
goodness.
bulls. So I don't know this for sure, but I think shorty bulls are probably involved in some of the exotic American
Mm.
bully. Something
Well,
weird's going in there.
what do you think about, and this is why I wanted you here as well, was in the American bully world, the ability to be creative in order to make a dollar never fails to impress me. So the new thing is, since the Brazilian bulls over there in Brazil were bred to American bulldog, guess what some Americans here are doing with their American bullies now? They're
Breeding
trying
to
to
American
bring
Bulldog.
to American bulldogs right here in the good old U.S. And
You
so
know,
I've had some crazy texts this week. Now, mind you, I've been pretty busy because I just dropped the litter. One person was asking me, Raul, how do you get rid of the close eye set in the American bulldog so it doesn't translate to when you breed it to the American bully? Honestly, I don't know. The only response I have is, because I've never bred to an American bulldog before, the only response I have is water it down as best you can in order to create the skull and the eye set you want. Have you ever had to deal with the whole eye set issue with the American bulldogs? And if so, how did you fix it?
I know what you're talking about because I know I'm a student of the Brazilian bull. Matter of fact, I have two pups now. But
Okay.
and what it looks like to me, I can't say it's all American Bulldog because my research, of course, I've only had my pups like 4 months, 3 months, 4 months. So I'm a neophyte. I don't know. I followed XL bullies, but I'm not an expert by any stretch. But my research, and it's hard to research because you know, at Petapedia or whatever, Pitapedia, and they only go back like 4 generations. And then on Brazilian bulls, they don't have a lot. And
Right.
but
They
to
haven't
me,
been around long. Right.
that the American bully is supposed to be. I mean, I saw it develop in the 80s and 90s. I remember, we all used to look in Dog World, and I used to go to some UKC shows sometimes, and there's a whole group of guys, and there was a movement for a bullier UKC pit bulls. They were just bred thicker. Like there was a gal, Pam Carter. What the hell was her? She had these crazy looking, beautiful dogs. They were Amstaff pit bull, UKC pit bulls, purple ribbon pit bulls, they call them. And they were like 90 pounds, big cheek muscles, big hump neck.
Right.
Not as exaggerated as American bullies, but for that time they stuck out. Their muzzles look short because their heads were big. So American bullies are bred off of that dog, bred to, I don't know, a lot of English bulldog and a lot of mastiff and who knows what. But the
Mhm.
Brazilian dogs, if you look at them, they go back to, some of them go back to like Camelot pits, which the big Camelot dogs, I don't know this for a fact either, but I have a feeling they're all red nosed, red dogs, and they have some that are 90, 100 pounds. So they didn't come from UKC pit bulls and get that big, I guarantee you.
Right.
So they probably have like a lot of weight pull guys back in the day were putting Dog de Bordeaux in there, and some probably
Mhm.
put a Mastiff in. Now there's a dog called Whopper. I know this for a fact. It's not rumor. I was around when all that went down. There was a guy in Tulsa, Oklahoma called Eddie Eddington. He was like the weight pull guru for the ADBA. He had all the champion dogs in every weight class, and he popularized it. He was like the guru. He was the guy you went to. Supposed to be a really good guy. Well, when I started hearing about that, really getting into the American Bulldogs, like in the 1995, he got murdered. Somebody killed him with a ball peen hammer, I think. And
Wow.
and I think it might have been over dogs. I don't know. Well, before he died, there was
Jeez.
another guy in Oklahoma, in Tulsa. They were both in Tulsa. And that guy was an American Bulldogs. His name was John Blackwell. And he seemed like one of these guys that goes from breed to breed. And the breed that he was in before the American Bulldog was the Dog de Bordeaux, Turner and Hooch. It was probably,
Right.
they started getting
Remember
popular.
that movie back in the days? Yeah.
Yeah, well, he claimed that he had a couple of these Dog de Bordeaux females that he'd never gotten bred. And so he paid a stud to Mr. Johnson and got one of Mr. Johnson's dogs, this real pretty looking dog. He was called Dick the Bruiser the second. He was
Dick Bruiser. I love the name.
yeah. Well, he bred Dick the Bruiser to the Dog de Bordeaux. I think he bred the two of them, and that's where that dog Whopper came from. Whopper was a big, like 140-pound brindle dog, and he weight pulled him. I don't know if he was the greatest weight puller, but he crossed him back to some of his UKC pit bulls and created that dog, Chevy Red, and that blood went over there. And even here in the United States, since I got into these dogs, I was looking into what else I could breed into, and I've never gotten an answer. I don't know, you might know, but if those XL pit bulls, they're not registered as American bullies. I don't know what, I think they're registered UKC. And I talked to some of the people, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you can register them. You can register them." But I don't know. There's somebody that you had on your podcast, Kingdom Kennels. Kingdom Kennels. They have a little girl that has a big red male that she trains.
Yes.
Well, that dog is basically like, what do they call it? Red Lion. It's down from all that kind of stuff. It's XL pit bulls, and I think he's registered as an American bully, ABKC American bully. But I noticed they have those Merle dogs and stuff from Boston Kennels, down from Boston Kennels, and the stud fee's crazy high on that, but just real low on theirs, on that dog. And I like that dog. Just he's not a finished product, but he's terrific.
Right.
And he seems to have a really good temperament, and his breathing seems clean. He's a very clean dog, and you need to throw a clean dog in to get something cleaned up. It's hard to select a shitty structure.
You hit the nail on the head. I pivoted. I've been breeding now for 10 years. My main thing was having dogs whose fronts were as clean and correct as possible. That's my I don't know what you want to call it. So, anyways, what ended up happening is, there's a certain level of mastiff, especially in the XL side of the house. And I realized there is no way that I'm going to correct the things that I want to correct if we keep breeding to XLs, because that percentage of mastiff, very little, but even if it's a little bit, when it's bred to another dog that also has a little bit, it seems to compound. And I used to think that pit bull blood was sticky. Meaning, if you had a dog that had pit bull or terrier traits, you would have a lot of issues clearing them. Man, let me tell you something. I guess because I was dealing with XLs, I wasn't dealing with too many pit bull or terrier traits. I can tell you the mastiff traits, bro, that's as sticky as gum in your hair, man. It is. You're not going to get rid of it. You're not gonna, if it's there on either side, it's game over. You're either gonna see it on the rear, like the lack of rear angulation, the high rear, the weak chest, the weak pasterns, yada 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 down the line. Jowls that are droopy, droopy skin. And so I'll tell you, man, to a certain extent, I am glad that the, Brazilian bull has come on the scene. Now, I'm not naive enough to not think that people are not about to get creative, because I know they are. If they got creative before, they're about to get really creative now. And so let me ask you this. Of the Johnson and Scott American Bulldog, which is the girthier dog? If you had to breed an American Bully to an American Bulldog, which of those two would you breed it to?
Well, the Scott type dog, the standard dog, is more of a houndy, pit bully looking dog. Kind of looks, some of them look similar to like a doggo, like a hunting doggo that doesn't have the real blocky head. There's different lines. One thing that's a parallel between American bullies, Brazilian bulls, and American bulldogs is
Hold
I
on,
was
hold on a
around.
second. Hold on a second. Let me interrupt you for just a second.
Sure.
I apologize. But I just want to make a point because this is the type of BS that is not tolerated on this live. So this guy over here, Indigo. So where are the seldom signs that something is wrong? This is BS. First of all, Indigo, you're not even a member of this channel to begin with. Second of all, where do you get off with, trying to run the show, bro? If you can't hang around to see what we're talking about, then the best thing you do is bounce. And that goes for you and anybody else, bro. Don't come in here starting some crap, bro. In fact, let's do this. Let me mosey on to where you're at. Yeah. And now you're banned. And now you can't even comment going forward. It's really that simple. Don't come in here trying to take over the show or talk nonsense like that. I don't know where you get your sense of entitlement. Honestly, I really don't. You're not a member. You're here like everybody else is, and you're asking for stuff. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Vito, I apologize, man. Continue on, man. I had to make a point. Had to give a public spanking because that's just uncalled for.
I never read the comments. That's another thing I learned over the years. When I was younger, I had a lot more testosterone, and I'm usually a pretty even keel guy. But we used to have those chat boards, and when somebody would lie about my dog, one of my dogs, make up stuff that's not true, or just whatever, they do all kinds of things, just hating. I would overreact. I would say, and I got a reputation. People thought I was such a dick. I'm really not. But if somebody messes with me, I mess with them back. But now when I'm old, I don't have time or energy to put into even responding to anybody. There's always going to be people like that, and the problem is that that's what they want. They want your attention. They want you to say something that for some reason it gives them a little, pithy.
Yeah.
But
Unfortunately, man, he just got me on the wrong day. This week has been a tough little week, lack of sleep. You know how that goes. I have a quick question here from Jerry O. Bullies Inc. He's saying, Raul, what's up, Raul? What happened with Canine Super Supplements? So, Vito, let me let you in while I explain to him or answer his question. So a while back, I was contacted by a gentleman that represented Canine Super Supplements. He was the president of the company, and he offered me a sponsorship, sent me product. I approved the product. I was using it for about a month and a half. It was giving me results. One of the ingredients in the products was bone marrow, which I thought was just very smart of him to include that in the product. We negotiated, and long story short, we even put our QB Kennel label on the bag. 3 months go by. I'm over here letting everybody know what I'm using. If you want to order it, go here, blah, blah, blah. Out of nowhere, an entire batch throughout the entire country is going out without bone marrow as one of the main ingredients. This guy didn't even have the audacity or the kindness or the respect of anything to let me know so I could speak to my followers who have been buying his product. So when I realize, the thing with me is I'm a one hiccup person. You're only going to hiccup one time around me. You're not going to hiccup twice. And when you come at me and we sign a contract and we do the sponsorship and we do everything, and out of the blue, you're now changing ingredients in the bag because you're trying to make $1. You're not telling anybody. And I'm having my followers on the live bringing it up, showing me the bag. Like, it's very easy for me to choose my followers over somebody that's shady like that. That's a heartbeat. So that's what happened. That's what happened. When I brought it up to him, it was the whole oh yeah, you know how it is. Yeah, we're gonna get it fixed. Just keep it. And that's the reason why I only let you hiccup once, because all I'm gonna get after that is gonna be the whole circus show. So let me answer that. Let me see. There was one other question that I wanted to answer. Shay Tree's asking, how's girl doing and all the puppies? Is Sunshine with pups? Okay, girl is doing great. That's my girl that just dropped puppies. Let me put the picture up here. Okay, she's doing phenomenal. All the puppies are doing great. She had 6 males and 1 female, and I couldn't be any happier because you guys know I do genetic testing. And if you know anything about breeding and genetic breeding, you know that breeding is all about probabilities. So if I had 7 puppies and I was going to have 4 males and 3 females, I'd much rather have 6 males and 1 female. It gives me more of a sample size, and that's essentially what I'm happy about. As far as Sunshine being pregnant, I don't know yet. We don't know. I can sit here and tell you all the promising signs, but we all know that they're not 100%. So we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. Go ahead, Vito. I'm sorry I kind of sideswiped you. That's kind of how this live goes every time we go live, man. You were saying, man, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No problem. I was saying that the American Bully, American Bulldog, and this Brazilian Bull, these kind of new breeds. When I got into the American Bulldog, it was pretty new. And looking back now, I feel that it was kind of a composite breed. Most of the pedigrees were probably bullshit. And when I started my first, like my 3rd or 4th litter, I bred. There was a big, huge male called Tyson. He was real nice, and I bred half brother, half sister off him. And they were 2 very nice dogs that I had. And she had like 12 puppies. Man, I had a boxers in there. I had frickin' Saint Bernard, English Bulldog looking dog. I had like 4 different types. And I had a miniature dog, like a male I sold. He never got bigger than like 55 pounds. Jeez. So I'm like, how the hell can that happen from a half brother, half sister breeding? And it was mainly the Johnson blood. But I guess we just have to realize it's a composite breed. And when they're doing all those outcrosses, you can get that hybrid vigor. And I guess you get some stuff that pops out that's not been seen or is just way kind of to the left of the gene pool that you know of. And sometimes those are awesome, but things settle. Like Johnson, Mr. Johnson, he wanted a huge dog. Like all he cared about was size. He used to say, I want an American Bulldog big enough I can throw a saddle on. And like all of his dogs, he would add 20 pounds to them when he advertised them, or they'd just be fat. In the summertime, they get real fat. In Georgia, in the summertime, they'd be skinny, but in the wintertime, he'd just shovel food to them. And so he put St. Bernard in there probably. There's a couple dogs, even to this day, that, they look more like a St. Bernard than an American Bulldog. So all these different things, but what I found was, despite him putting all these big dogs in, and other people put big stuff in too. Other people put band dog, mastiffs, who knows. And but when you're crossing stuff like that all the time, what some people say they're in a crossbred state or whatever, which is fine. I don't see anything wrong with it. That's what happens when you start a breed. You can't if there's no gene pool, you can't wish it. You can't do a cross of 15 dogs and say, oh, I got the gene pool. But what happens when they close the gene pool, and whether people don't want to, and I see people are like, I don't want to line breed, but regardless, if the study was closed, you're going to start line breeding, whether you think you are or not. And
Yeah.
things settle sometimes very different. So with the American Bulldogs, the people that are breeding the bully dogs, some of them became shorter, smaller, because they were selected for the bully gene. And with I'm not an expert on American bullies, but it seems like things have settled in there too. Like I went to a couple of shows maybe 15 years ago, and like I said, I had a pocket that I used briefly. He was a razor's edge dog out of Daisy Dozer. I think that's really an old pedigree, but he was a pocket. He was blue. He had a little lightning bolt squiggly tail, and he was undershot, and he was thick. He was a good-looking dog. He had a screwy temperament, but well, I went to a couple shows back then, and then I went to a show in Bloomington, Illinois, and of course it was mainly pockets. That was the majority. And I mean, don't get me wrong, they were nice dogs, but I was shocked at how long-bodied and the dwarfism gene. They really. I have a friend that always told me, hey, they put Basset Hound in there. I'm like, I don't think they put Basset Hound. But I understand what they're saying. It's some of these dogs are a very big-bodied dog, like a big dog with no leg at all. They're like a limousine, long.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's an English Bulldog thing. That's a dwarfism gene. And you can get English Bulldogs that have longer bodies. Matter of fact, for 50, 60 years, they've been, that part of their standards, they want a real square dog, real short back. So you'll get some English Bulldogs that have no back at all, real short, but they tend to get, that dwarfism gene tends to make kind of long-bodied dogs. So
yeah, it's to me, I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and just say they didn't have all the tools at hand. Now going forward with genetic testing, you can actually identify if the dwarfism gene is there or not before you even do the breeding. So going forward, if there are pups walking around with the dwarfism gene, like, it's because you sucked as a breeder. It's just the bottom line. So many people are infatuated with making a quick dollar and making a name for themselves that they really don't sit there and do genetic testing. In fact, they'll even go ahead and criticize genetic testing because it's not conducive to their little business model they got going on right now. They will always show you, look at the dog look at the pup my dog produced. And what I always tell people is, whenever you see that, don't be, don't. If the pup is amazing, the pup is amazing. That's great. But my next question usually is, how many times have you bred your dog? If the answer is he's been bred 50 times, then I need to see 50 to 100 puppies that are looking like that. That's how you know that somebody's actually producing. Anybody out here with a camera can take a picture of the one lone pup you were able to produce that was worth anything and throw it out there. So don't be fooled by that. When you see somebody advertising a dog and saying he's a major producer and he or she keeps throwing the same 2 puppies that he produced that were great, there's something wrong. Because if he's being bred that much, there has got to be at least 2 puppies out of every litter that are banging. Okay, just keeping it real with you. V2, I got to tell you, man, tonight the live also entails a health side, which is signs and symptoms that something is wrong with your dog. A subtle sign and symptom that something is wrong with your dog. I have a list of 10 things. We're about to go over them, but before I do, I want to ask you, you've been breeding a lot longer than me. You could probably run circles around me as far as with your experience. My question to you is, what are some subtle signs and symptoms that you have seen or come across that tell you that something is definitely wrong with either the puppy or the dog?
Gosh, I have to think about this. There's so much stuff I do now that I don't even, it's just innate. I watch puppies from 3 weeks. Every little thing they do, I
Yeah.
put a little register in my head. Uh, that's one thing. My dogs are pretty healthy, but I used to be like a big time pen hip guy. I pen hipped everything. I used to pen hip like 3 pups out of every litter, and that was kind of my decision.
Right.
But they're only $185 back then in 1995. Now they're $600. So I have to watch it. I can't spend all my, too much money on these dogs. But luckily, my dogs are line bred on dogs with really tight hips. So I sometimes I'll skip a female here and there. I used to be ultra paranoid, and I used to be like freaked out. And I always, once you X-ray the dog and find out, it always seems like it's not, at least with my dogs, it's not the hip, it's the knees. And that's one thing I've been, you might know, because you're like a professor with all this stuff. I have never found any data or research on all these torn cruciate tendons. I've had people say, oh, it's the angulation and this and that, blah, blah, blah. And then I've seen 12-year-old dogs that have pogo stick back legs that have never had knee trouble.
Well,
So-
I was just, you took the words right out of my mouth. Angulation, it's funny, the same angulation that we're all after creates more torque where the angle lies. So let me bring this up and you'll see what I mean. It's pretty simple to understand. So we're coming over here, right? And we're seeing this dog's angulation, right here. Okay. The more angulation you have, the more torque that's going to happen here at the stifle. Okay. This is why a dog like this that has less rear angulation, if you look at the bottom arrow pointing to the less rear angulation, then this dog here, more likely than not, this dog will not tear a cruciate ligament in comparison to this dog. Now, the reason I say it like that, I'm saying it if everything is equal. Okay, if you have dogs, jumping off the back of a truck or that sort of thing, it all goes out the window. But with everything being equal, because of the mechanism of action having less torque on a stifle that's pretty much a stiff stifle, pretty much, you have less of a chance to put pressure on the ligaments than you would on this particular angulation with that type of angulation. So you hit it right on the head, man.
Yeah,
I'm going to go ahead and bring up some of the things that I researched and came up with, and let's have a conversation about it. So let me ask you this, Vito. You ever had a dog that all of a sudden had increased thirst? And of course, as they're drinking more water, more urination. Have you ever had a scenario like that?
I've had some females that, and I can't remember now what my vet was telling me the problem was. I keep wanting to think it was vaginitis or I don't know what it is, but where they seem to drink a lot and then they pee a lot, but then they grow out of it. And I don't know if it's a yeast infection or some kind of bladder infection as a puppy.
You're on track. UTIs, which is the urinary tract infection, when it happens to a dog, a female in particular, they're going to be peeing little squirts a lot of times. So say, for example, you take your dogs out of your house to pee 3 times, 4 times a day. All of a sudden, this dog that has never had accidents in your house it's now having 3 or 4 accidents on top of the 4 times you're bringing them out. That's usually a sign of UTI. The other thing is when the dog out of nowhere is starting to drink a lot more water and urinating, but not necessarily these little squirts. I'm talking about letting out a lot at a time. One of the things you have to take in consideration is actually diabetes mellitus, which afflicts humans all the time. And or if not, chronic kidney disease. That's how it starts to present itself. Okay. Now, with these issues, and particularly the chronic kidney disease, the body can't regulate the fluids, so it ends up leading to dehydration and organ failure, even though they're drinking in all this water, right? It's really that crazy. I
went through that with, it's kind of the reason why I got into American Bulldogs. I used to be into Dobermans, and I guess in the late 80s, I bought this dog from the number 6 dog in the country, and my dog Bravo, and he was all trained up. I had AKC obedience training. I was going for a title, and at 2 years of age, I'm tossing the tennis ball down the hall, and he comes back and he's dripping pee. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And well, long story short, we took him to like several vets and finally got diagnosed with this rare disorder called diabetes insipidus.
Yeah, that's the other one.
The vet looked at me like, it was so horrible. And I'm like, the dog's beautiful. He looks healthy. He's wonderful. And she's like, yeah, you're going to have to put him down. I'm like, I'm not putting him down. So we started isolating him in a certain area, putting beach towels down. Well, it's 1 year. And then he was like a crack addict. Like when it would rain, he'd dig a hole and he would just drink. He could never drink enough water. And then finally he peed out like some mustardy looking pee. And I took him in and she said, yeah, you need to put him down right away because he's going to have kidney failure and it's excruciating. So I had to put him down. And that pissed me off so bad because Dobermans they had 30 years ago, they had cardiomyopathy, they found Von-Willebrand's disease, they have all kinds of weird disorders. And I was like, I don't want to do this again. That's why I started looking at rare breeds. Back then, American Bulldogs were a rare breed. So that's kind of what I had never had anything in American Bulldogs, although now American Bulldogs, they have that HUU or HUU. They call it all different things. Those kidney stone problems.
Yes.
So, and I'm trying to test everybody. I've almost got everybody tested. I've only got 2 dogs that are carriers. One of them's an outcross dog I bought, which I don't know if I'm ever going to use them because I bred them once and I tested 2 pups that I kept. We have 2 things. We have this thing called ichthyosis, which is like the skin makes too much oil and their fur looks moth-eaten. You can see it like at a week old. So that I've got pretty much, I don't have it at all in my dogs. And I tested his 2 pups. One of them had it, and one of them had the HUU. So I put them both in pet homes. But yeah, I need to learn a lot more about. Like I've watched you with the Embark stuff, and like the long muzzle gene, all that kind of stuff. I know a lot about color genetics, but I know like hillbilly stuff. It's not. I don't know the codes and all that stuff because we don't have Merle in American Bulldogs, and even though I'm somebody that created the heavy colored American Bulldog, black American Bulldogs, color is not really something I breed for. I've never bred for that. I don't like. You're
like me in that sense. Yeah, we don't breed for color either. Now let me ask you this, and I'm going to throw you a sign and symptom. I just want to hear what your first guess is. Let's say all of a sudden you have a dog and out of nowhere they got this stinky breath, man, like out the blue. What's the first thing that would come to mind with a dog's bad breath in your thinking?
I used to have it. My first dog when I was a kid. I always remember she had horrible breath. I haven't had too much my dogs don't really have bad breath, but I would guess it's the food. Have something to do with the food, or possibly their teeth, their gum problems.
Okay, yeah, teeth, definitely. That's correct.
Maybe they're eating poop and they belch.
Oh yeah, no, that definitely will not be the best. Well, you definitely hit it, man. Advanced dental disease is definitely a possibility. Also, kidney failure. That's another place that you're going to get signs and symptoms. Going to be bad breath. The other one is like uremic toxins, like halitosis, and even a systemic infection. So if your dog out of the blue has bad breath, like really bad breath out of nowhere, you know, there's a possibility you got something going on with the kidneys, something going on with the teeth that can also, all those two things put together could also lead to kidney stones, right? And uremic toxins, meaning toxins within the urine, which initially it's actually in your blood and it's filtered out through the kidneys. One thing I will say, our product Nuvet NuJoint DS, it's a product that you're seeing above, does have something called cat's claw, and that's an anti-inflammatory, and it will combat oral bacteria. It also supports immune response against infections. So just wanted to give you the sign and symptom and what Nuvet has to actually combat it. Now this one, Vito, I think you're gonna like, because it's more in the breeder, in-depth breeder side of the house. What would you do if all of a sudden you see subtle limping in a puppy?
If it's a 4 to 7, 8 month old puppy, I'd worry about it being panitis, where they're growing too fast. Although I don't get that too much because I don't feed puppy food usually ever. I might maybe for the first month, but I usually everybody's fed. And I used to feed raw. I used to do all kinds of crazy stuff. Now I with my American Bulldogs at least, I got to the point where it's like, well, if I provide them with decent kibble, and I give my dogs eggs. I used to have 60 chickens, and I used to give all the dogs eggs. I used to have little concrete bowls, and
Right.
and I just smash it in there real quick so they don't fight over it. 1 or 2 eggs. But now I feed them. At my house, I don't have little kennels. I have big yards. I live in the woods, and I have some yards that are 400 foot long. They're big.
Right.
Usually a male and a female in there. They have a manger, and then there's an igloo doghouse inside there. And then I have a big horse trough of water, and I have well water, and I don't have a filter. It's just regular cold, ice cold well water. And then I have automatic feeders that 50 pounds of dog food in there. So they can eat when they want. There's always food, and they don't fight over the food, and they don't usually get fat. They know the food's always there. And then I'll supplement them. Sometimes if the supermarket has cheap chicken leg quarters, I'll give it to them. But with American Bulldogs, the problem with raw is if you throw a chicken leg quarter down and there's 2 dogs in the same yard, there could be a really bad fight. They won't fight over the kibble. They'll fight over that. So you kind of got to watch it. If I had more time, I'd love to feed more raw, but I just don't have the time. Plus, I started thinking, you know what? If my dogs can thrive on medium kibble, regular kibble, and they're good, then I'm probably doing something right. But I also think a lot of my dogs, their health is that they get to run all day and mess around. They're outside in the elements all day, and they got fresh water, tons of food, and they got a buddy in there with them to play with. So I think that makes a big, huge difference as opposed to like pet people that they got to go to work and put the dog in a crate for 10 hours or 8 hours or 9 hours. And he's just laying around. Dogs weren't really made to do that. They're made to walk and run and jump and dig and play and fight and wrestle. So, but Yeah, I'd either think it was panitis, that their bones are growing too fast, or if it's a little bit older puppy, maybe if it's limping on the back leg or keeping the back leg up, I'd be worried about the cruciate tendon. Or
Mm.
if it's 4 months old, then I used to always have trouble with this. I haven't had one in a long time, but they have ankle nail process where the elbow, there's a little bone that's not attached, and it should attach around 4 or 5 months. If it doesn't attach, then you've got a real loose, and that dog will get elbow dysplasia. It's going to have problems, especially if it's a big dog. But I
Yeah,
haven't,
well,
I haven't had that issue in a while.
you hit it. It may point to early arthritis or cruciate ligament injury, progressing to joint degeneration. So keep that in mind, guys. Especially if you have a puppy, say that's 6 weeks old, and they limp for a couple days, and then that limp goes away, especially in the back legs. It's possible that later on down the line, they could be susceptible to have hip dysplasia. Just keep that in mind. This is why the flooring is very important. Now, Vito, we got 5 minutes, so I'm going to shoot at you. What's the first thing that comes to mind every time I bring these things up? Give me a one-word answer, okay? Here we go. Changes in appetite. What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Digestion issues.
Okay. Possible pathologies are liver disease or hypothyroidism. Okay. And of course, this causes metabolic imbalances. Now, Vito, your answer could be just as valid. You got to take in consideration if you're feeding something to a dog that you know they will not pass up. Let me give you an example. When I say I cook chicken quarters, right? And I, take everything off the bone and all that and make it into a nice little soup for my pregnant females. And whatever's left over, I give it to all my dogs. My dogs go crazy for that little chicken soup whenever they are able to get some. If there was ever a time that one of my dogs would just not want it and just leave it there, immediately I would know something is up. And these are things that you have to consider: liver disease or hypothyroidism. A benefit that you have in Nuvet and NuJoint DS is that they include brewer's yeast, which provides vitamin B, which this supports metabolism and also appetite regulation. Vito, what's the first thing that comes to your mind if you have a dog you say you have a big yard, so you have a dog that's running up and down the yard every single day, chasing trucks that are driving by, whatever, and out of nowhere, they have lethargy. They don't want to get up and do much. What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
With my American Bulldogs, I'd right away be a red flag, because they're always, doesn't rain or shine. If certain things set them off, they're not usually. These Brazilian bulls, I've noticed, they're lazy around it. They're happy just to lay there. But American Bulldogs run. I'd be concerned. I'd be worried that they caught a virus, or it could be. I just look into whatever it could be. It could be a lot of different things.
It can. I'm going to throw just two things that are quite common. One can indicate anemia due to parasites, especially in puppies. Okay. The other one, it's one of the most silent but deadly diseases, which is heart disease. The very first thing you're going to notice is the dog's energy level or activity level is going to go down. Okay. This has to do with, reducing oxygen delivery and therefore reduce energy levels. Again, Nuvet Plus has iron in ferrous fumarate, and this helps anemia by supporting the production of red blood cells. Here's another one.
I had an experience years ago. I told you I was making that Alu Bull alternative bulldog, and I bred to this English bulldog, and I kept two females. It was from I think it was from an American bulldog bred to an English cat. And I had this female, I called her Mona Lisa. I loved her. She was just the coolest dog. And at about 4 months, just all of a sudden one day, she's like lethargic and coughing like she has a cold, congestion. I thought, what the hell? What's going on? So I ran her to the vet, and the guy told me, we got to put her down. She's got
Oh,
not a murmur. It was worse than a murmur. And God, I forget what they call that. But yeah, that
DCM, dilated cardiomyopathy.
No, well, it was something. I forget. I can't remember what it was. But I had a guy call me. He got a dog from somebody else, and he was telling me what it was doing. It was like passing out.
Yep.
Like if it got excited, it would pass out.
Yep.
And I thought, yeah, because I was in Dobermans. That's what happens. In cardiomyopathy in Dobermans, you might have a dog, and he's fine. Like I had a girlfriend that she had this Doberman, and she was running with him in the woods, and he just fell over. And she thought, what the hell? He just fell over, didn't move. And he had a massive heart attack because his heart muscle was growing so much that the chambers got too small and caused, I guess, a massive heart attack, and he died. So, but this guy's dog would just like pass out, and that it ended up he went to a specialist and all this stuff. I work for a vet. She's a friend of mine, so I call her anytime, and she'll give me. And she was saying, yeah, it's very common in the pitties. She calls them. I said, what are you talking? What do you call a pitty? She's like the American bully, those pit bulls, English bulldogs. A lot of bull breeds had those.
Yep.
God, I wish I could remember what the name of the disorder was. And
Well,
it's not always easy to diagnose. Sometimes you got to go to a specialist and get an ultrasound done.
I think you're talking about, it'll come to me here. As soon as this live is done, it'll come to me. Can't think of it. Let's keep rolling so that I can remember. So if I told you one of these beautiful American bulldogs you have running up and down out of nowhere has hair loss, right? And you're trying everything on it. You're thinking it's allergies, and you're putting them on a special diet, and you're putting creams and everything, and it's just not going away. What's the first thing that comes to your mind that could be going on?
Back in the day, the bully side of the breed, the Johnson type dogs, they would have they'd get a female, and she was a great producer. She produced 1 or 2 litters, and then they could never get her pregnant again. And she had those thyroid issues, and it's still common to this day, I think. And I think it comes from the English bulldog blood.
For sure.
I'm a little prejudiced against. I've had bad experiences with English bulldog genetics, and I'm not a fan. I think they're cute dogs, they're sweet, but I just think they're a genetic nightmare.
Well, let me tell you this, man. You hit it on the head. Typically, when you get that kind of hair loss, it's associated with hypothyroidism or Cushing's disease, okay? And this disrupts, obviously, the hormone balance and skin health. Now, it's very key that you said something. Just know this, guys. A female egg, right, is controlled. Essentially, it starts out as a follicle. So if your female's hair is brittle and is falling off, the hormones involved with her hair have everything to do with the hormones involved with her ovaries. So just know, if you're having issues in getting a female pregnant and she has this brittle hair's falling off or whatever, that's a clear indication of what's going on inside with her ovaries. Okay, you might want to take a look and see if it's hypothyroidism, if it's really bad kibble you're feeding, whatever that may be. Okay, so just wanted to throw that out there. In Nuvet, we have vitamin E, and this supports thyroid function. Okay, and this helps with the skin integrity as an antioxidant. This is why so many people that get on Nuvet within 30 days all of a sudden start speaking great about the skin and coat. And all it is a lot of these vitamins, you got to realize Nuvet is cold pressed, it's not cooked. All ingredients are natural. And so it becomes bioavailable for your dog. In fact, it's made at human food grade level. not at feed grade level. So, Vito, let me ask you what comes to mind in this next symptom I'm going to throw at you. This is very common. Everybody's seen it. I don't care what breed your dog is. What happens if out of nowhere your dog starts to scoot? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
Worms, parasites.
That's the first thing that comes to my mind. Now, if I was to tell you it's not worms or parasites, what's the next thing you would think of?
Man, I can't think of. I think I know what it is, but I can't think of exactly. I think I'm just confusing it now. You know how now they're selling all these things for humans to take for parasites, and they're always saying if your butt itches, you've got parasites. I don't know. I'm not sure. What else?
Look, man, anybody that has a large breed is not doing it, but it could be the anal glands. And let me just throw this out there. If you ever get a groomer and they ask you, hey, we could go ahead and, express the dog's anal glands, just know the minute you do it the first time, you're going to have to keep doing it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, maybe you've been in a room with your dog and out of nowhere it smells like sardines or fish or something, and the smell's pungent, won't go away, and the female's not in heat and she's not bleeding. More likely than not, you're dealing with anal gland issues, okay? Yeah. So real quick, let me let you know that Nuvet carries something called Evening Primrose, and it carries omega-3 fatty acids, which helps reduce inflammation in the glands, right? So it just makes that inflammation come down. Here's another one for you, Vito. Head tilting. And I don't mean when you're whistling and they just tilt their head. I'm talking about out of nowhere, the dog's walking all happy yesterday, and then today it's doing this. What's the first thing in your mind that you
ear problems? Water in their ear, dirt in their ear, or some kind of inflammation in their ear.
Yes.
I had an American Bulldog that always got these issues with like trapping moisture in the ear. But we actually x-rayed her head, and her ear canal was a little too small. And so yeast would build up. So I quit breeding to her. So, yeah, I would say probably ear problems.
Well, you hit it on the head, man. Head tilting usually suggests some sort of vestibular disease or ear infection, okay? It affects balance and potentially leading to falls and neurological issues, okay? Just so you know, Nuvet carries selenium, which is an antioxidant. It's going to support ear health and reduce oxidative stress in the inner ear. So this is why I get reported to a lot of people that get on Nuvet NuJoint DS out of nowhere. You're starting to notice that your dog's having less and less ear infections than they normally were before. It's got to do with not just evening primrose, but even the previous ingredient, which not selenium, but also evening primrose, because it's omega-3 and it will also reduce inflammation. All right, Vito, let me jump to the next one. We got this one and just one more to go after this one. Out of nowhere, okay, your dog is sitting, they weren't running or anything, and out of the blue, you get excessive panting. What's the first thing that comes to mind?
If they're just panting for no reason, kind of.
Excessively, yes.
Are they, like if they're salivating, maybe they ate something or poisonous stuff or something?
I'm not saying salivating, I'm saying panting.
Just panting.
They're breathing heavily, fast.
I can't think of what that would. I can't think of what would cause.
No worries. No worries. This is what
nervousness or something.
Well, that could be. It can signal pain or stress. So nervousness definitely falls under that. But one thing it could also be showing.
Oh, pregnancy, whelping a litter.
Well, no. Outside of pregnancy, of course. You're right about that. But outside of pregnancy, if a dog out of the blue is starting to pant a lot, it could be a possible sign of heart disease. Just realize they're trying to catch up. The heart ain't pumping like it does, so it's trying to oxygenate itself. It's trying to compensate. This last one is one that I would dare to say the majority of people have seen it in their dogs and never really understood what was happening or never really took it seriously. And that is staring spells. You ever had a dog that out of nowhere just stays staring at something and you're trying to see what they're looking at and it's really nothing. They're just staring in a particular area.
You know, my dog Broadzilla, when she was about 12 years old, she was so old that I'd go out in the yard and she'd be like up against the side of the house just staring. And I never knew what it was. I'm like, I figured she's just getting old and senile. But maybe she was having an episode. What is it, Professor?
Well, listen, man. Again, this what I'm saying is not a diagnosis, it's just a possibility, right? When a dog starts having staring spells out of nowhere that they never had before, it may indicate an early sign of epilepsy or cognitive dysfunction, okay, with seizures starting as brief as disorientation. So what it means is, yeah, look, Javier Noriega actually threw this out there. Yeah. Usually, if you have a dog, let me give you guys an example. If you have a dog that's, I don't know, 5 years old, never had staring spells or whatever, and out of the blue, they have a little tumor growing inside of the brain. What's going to happen is that tumor is going to change some of the dynamic of what's going on in the brain. And one of the first signs that you're going to get is them little staring spells, which are going to progressively get worse as that tumor progressively grows. And eventually you'll get to the point where you get epilepsy. Or the other thing that could be happening, guys, you got to realize this stuff happens to humans. So it could happen to dogs all the time as well, is a deterioration of the brain where the dog is starting to lose or starting to have cognitive dysfunction. We see it all the time. Anybody here has had a grandparent or knows of somebody that's had Alzheimer's? These little things, are signs that are showing that something's going on in the dog's brain where the cognitive function is going to start to deteriorate. Okay. What's crazy about everything we went over tonight, whether it's the staring spell, the excessive panting, the head tilting, the scooting, the hair loss. I've had people hit me up 100 times. Oh, please help me. We've done everything we could, and it doesn't get better within a month. I'm like, dude, you got to take the pup to the vet because there may be something worse in there, like hypothyroidism, right? Lethargy, changes in appetite, subtle limping, bad breath, increased thirst and urination. These are all signs and symptoms of things that may be going on in your dog that are so subtle that we don't pay attention to, but can be giving us signs of major, major issues. Marie, you're right. It could be signs of dementia as well. It doesn't have to be signs of epilepsy or whatnot. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Right now, we have a 16-year-old Yorkie. He likes to sleep a great part of his day. I've been noticing the last several months, he's staring at walls. It just is what it is. Shay says, I feel like I'm learning so much. Thank you. I'll get my membership right ASAP. No worries, Shay. I just felt that it was important to throw these things out there. I I get hit up a lot of times with people that are having these sorts of issues, like I said, with hair loss, and they're buying Nuvet and they're bathing the dog with the water and vinegar and baking soda and vinegar and water. They're doing everything. They want to do the chlorhexidine bath, and I'm like, look, I am appreciative, that you're wanting to learn and do things, but at this stage of the game, your dog only has 3 hairs on his entire body, and nothing we've done for a month has worked. I'm thinking that this is a bigger problem than just, changing up diet and supplementing the dog. So that's how we do it, man. So tell me, Vito, where are we headed at, man? Where are you headed with your dogs going forward? You said you've bred for 30 years now. You look yourself breeding another 30, or are you going to hang up the old
I'm 62.
What are you thinking?
I'm 62 years old, so
dang, dude, you don't look it.
It's weird to get to this age and start thinking, am I going to be alive in 20 years? 20 years, I'll be 82 years old. And then I'm like, I don't know if I'm able to handle these big, giant dogs.
Yeah.
I get some hope because there's a guy, I didn't think he was this old, Don Matthews. He's an American Bulldog breeder. And he just finally kind of retired and got rid of his dog. And he was 81. I think he was 81 or 82. So
wow.
I guess my dad's still alive. He's like 90. He'll be 96 November 7th. But, I don't know. I think when you're 80, it's going to be tough. But so with my American Bulldogs, I've kind of cut down. At one time I had kept, sometimes I'd have my yard would be like 85 dogs. And now I'm down to like 12. And then I got these Brazilian bulls. I got 2 pups from Aria at Samba. And, but I don't think I'm going to have a bunch of females. I think I just want to get one of those big monsters. I want to produce a big monster male just to have, maybe in about 4 years, I'm going to retire completely. And I'd like to, it'd be kind of cool to go to some shows with them and just do stuff. I just got enamored with, I saw that video of Faust a couple of years ago. And I thought, damn, I like that dog. I know he's just a weird, freaky dog. I just like that raw animal monster muscle, freakiness. And that kind of got me a little interested. And then I took the dive about 4 months ago. And so we'll see. It's very different breed. And actually, the American Bulldogs that the Brazilians put in, I produced like 3 or 4 dogs farther back in the background than that dog. The dog's name is New Iron. His grandpa had like several shots. Actually, there are dogs that I produced and shipped to France, and two of them were from France, and one of them was from the Netherlands. And in Europe, they interbred to produce that dog. But yeah, that's I'm kind of pare down in my dogs in the next 10 years, hopefully get down to like under 10 for my American Bulldogs. And if I stick with the American Bully, XL Pit Bull, Brazilian Bulls, I might change my mind. If they're really hard, I should ask you, are all these dogs require?
Let me put it this way: I've had on my yard at one time I had 24, and I was barely making it, man. 24 was way too much. At times I've had 12, and I can tell you it's still a lot of work.
Yeah.
The number where I would say it gets easy, it's 6 to 8, anywhere in there. It's not that difficult. People are like, well, what would be so difficult? Well, you got to realize there's a lot more to having dogs in your yard than just having 12 cages and 12 dogs in the cages. Every month we change their position so that the dog's bond with me is always going to be bigger than he or she's going to have with any other dog in the yard. In addition to that, if a female comes in heat, it really disrupts, at least for me, it really disrupts my routine. I have a routine with my dogs. When you have this many dogs, I've always said you got to have a routine, because when the dog steps outside of that routine, that's when you, as a breeder, can tell something is going on. Whether the female's in heat, if she's sick, if whatever, even if the pack dynamic is starting to shift. Okay, you're able to tell because you're doing this routine on a daily basis. Dogs are acting, very consistent. When they're doing the routine, the minute they step outside of it, that's a red flag, and you gotta dig a little bit deeper. So yeah, we change their position. When a female goes in heat, it changes everything. People say, well, when there's a female in heat, two males will fight. More likely than not, this is true. But you get 4 females that are in heat at the same time, you're looking for a fight amongst them. Why?
Oh, yeah.
Because their hormones, man, they're cranky. Like, one tells the other one, get out of my space, or that's my stick, or whatever. And she's having a cranky morning, and next thing you know, you can have a full-blown fight. So it's important that you're seeing these things. That, for example, years ago it was Fireball. I still use my boy Fireball, but he's 8.5 now. But my boy Congo, right? He's 4 years old. I let him out into my kennel area before I let the dogs out. Whenever I'm suspecting they're coming into heat, he's going to let me know who's in heat real quick. And once he does, that dog, whoever that may be, she's not going out that day. Okay. She's just
those old
not
studs, they're great at that.
She's all by herself, but not with the pack. What's that?
Those old studs are great at it. They get down there, look up a little bit, chomp their mouth, I call it putting it through the computer.
Yeah,
best progesterone
little
test.
mouthers doing that thing. Yeah, the shiver.
Yeah. Like that. I've had studs that are so good. Of course, with my American Bulldogs, it can be 95 degrees outside, and when I breed a female, I put him in the yard with the male, and I walk away. And
don't do that with the bullies, man.
Yeah. I know with oldies you can't do that either, but they breed natural, and my dogs have the sense to, I had a dog that's pretty famous called Gaucho that I didn't own him. I had breeding access to him, but those guys bred the crap out of him for like 12 months. So he was bred so much, so if he was anywhere near a female, he would lose his mind. Like he would hyperventilate and go crazy. So I guess it's all how you raise them, I guess. And
it is, man. My dogs, you're going to crack up, but my boy Fireball, especially when he was at his height, easily 2-3 times a month, we were studying him. And, I would collect him. And even till this day,
pull out a paper, pull out that plastic bag and he goes crazy, huh?
Yes. He could be next to a female in heat. If I put on a blue glove or I grab a Ziploc, it's game over. He'll forget about her. He'll come running over here because he thinks he's about to get collected. It's really that crazy. But listen, Vito, man, we've had a good little sit down here. We went a little bit over. I was planning for us to be here an hour, but I definitely wanted to hear your story, and I wanted to get in the signs and symptoms of, the subtle signs and symptoms that something major could be going on. Vito, do me a favor, man. I'm going to put you on the screen. Let everybody know your social media handles and how they can get in contact with you and all that. Vito, did I lose you? Oh, man. Vito, I'm going to move you back. Just give me a thumbs up. I feel like I lost you there for a second, buddy. Yeah, man. I'm so sorry. I think I lost Vito. Vito, please, if you can, follow that link. Come on back here. There you go. There he is.
Hey, sorry about that.
And I lost you for a second.
I think his Wi-Fi hiccuped or something.
Listen, give us your internet handles? How can people get in contact with you if they want one of your dogs? Anything like that?
Oh, well, wait a minute. You didn't ask me about Merle, if it's a coat pattern.
Oh, okay. Well, I asked this one, full of himself breeder months ago whether Merle was a color or a pattern. I thought he made it perfectly clear that it wasn't a color, even though he probably still swears to this day that it is. But I'll go ahead and ask you, Merle, what is it? Is it a pattern? Is it a color?
I look at it like this, and I'm not an expert on it because we don't have Merle and our dogs, but I've dealt with different stuff with it. And I think of Merle as like a dilute that's kind of like splashing bleach on a dog. It removes pigment and dilutes pigment in sporadic ways. Like a blue dog, they're a dilution of pigment, but it's even. It's an even percentage on the skin, the hair, the eyes. But in Merle, it's kind of like splashing them with bleach. Some it's wiped out completely. Some it's lighter. You know how you'll have those spots that are a little different. So to me, they're kind of like a pattern, a random pattern, like splashing bleach. But the question I have for you that I really want to know, I actually probably should pay for a consult. There's a lot of stuff I don't know about embark and all that stuff because I just never used it that way. But this breed has blue dilute, the red nose dilution. They have piebald, and now they have Merle, and they have it in one dog. Those things, all these different reductions of or absence of pigment.
Yes.
What do you think's a long term? Because I know people are like, "Well, I don't breed Merle to Merle," but you breeding dogs that carry all that stuff.
Look, I sat here. I've spoken about this at length. You need to know how to breed Merles. I have said you don't breed Merle to Merle, but you also don't breed Merle to Piebald, or you don't breed Merle to an all-white dog, for example, because, like you said earlier, and you're absolutely right, the Merle pattern.
Am I gone again?
I'm sorry? You're there?
Yeah,
okay.
I agree now. The internet's going crazy.
Yeah, the Merle color does disperse melanin or coloration. Too much disbursement can cause deafness, blindness, or even eyesight issues and hearing issues. But that's not just it. The heart needs melanin. So does the brain. So does the liver and the spleen. Okay. What does it need it exactly for? I don't know. I haven't completely full-blown deep dove in that. But I do know for a fact that it needs it. So not having it can definitely can create a long-term effect. But Vito, I don't know
I can't imagine what's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know about your neck of the woods or your breed. I can tell you my breed, nobody cares. And the great majority doesn't care. You're on a platform where we consider ourselves the 1%ers because we talk about the things that really matter, so we think. But in the community, 99% of the group chats and what people are talking about, it's got nothing to do about the dog's health or what the long-term effects will ever be. They just simply don't care. Because really, that's when you really realize what they're there for. They're there to make a quick buck. So if a dog
has that in American Bulldogs too. We have people that just
listen, man, it's human nature. It befalls all of us. What really gets me is, I guess, because of my platform, because I know some stuff. People feel like they need to come lie to me so I can help them that one time. And it's funny because usually within 6 months to 2 years later, they're hitting me up again. What they fail to forget is there's something called text. In the text, I could actually flip up and see historically the conversation that we had. And even though I have very bad short-term memory, I have very good long-term memory. So somehow I'm able to remember those things. So I'm saying all that to tell you they really don't give a shit, but they'll make it seem like they're giving a shit in order to get something from you. Once they get what they wanted from you, then they go about not giving a shit again until 2 years later down the line, they come running again, demanding like that earlier dude, right? Having a sense of entitlement. I don't know where you have that. You're not even a member of the channel. But they'll hit me up and ask a question, and I'll see the question. I'll just flip and forget it. I'm not answering you because I seen what you told me 2 years ago. And a day will go by, and they'll send something like, "I'm waiting." What are you waiting for, bro? Like, where's your sense of that I owe you something? I owe you absolutely nothing. But that's how this community works. And it's really sad and it's comical all at the same time, man.
I want to ask you another question. This is probably a basic question you probably answered before, but all these XL bully people, I see them advertising dogs. They're all 150 pounds, all 140 pounds, 130 pounds, blah, blah, blah. And they're like 19 inches tall. Does everybody lie about the weight?
Everything is a lie. It's unless
everybody adds 25 pounds to their dog.
You go there and put hands on the dog. So let me give you an example. I pivoted a year ago. I bought this girl Sunshine. I did not make her. I bought her. Okay. She champed out really fast. At 6 months and 17 days, she was a champ. Okay. So what happens is in this community, right? Especially with the studs, when people ask for the specs, everybody starts to exaggerate, right? Because first of all, they're full of shit and they really don't know what they're doing. They just started breeding. And the way they start breeding in this community is, where are the sheep headed? I'm another sheep. Let me go follow them, right? Here we are clapping like seals, right? And if it's Gucci, if that's the brand of the moment, then that's what we're going to get. And I got Gucci puppies, just like the other 8,000 sheep just like me. We all got Gucci puppies, right? So what ends up happening is they'll start saying things that make absolutely no sense. Let me explain. If I show you this boy right here, and I told you that I drove all the way to Virginia and I put hands on this dog, and this dog is anywhere between 100 to 105 pounds, depending if he took a dump or not before you weighed him, you would believe me, because I drove all the way there and I put my hands on that dog. What gets me is how you'll have dogs that have fiddle limbs, real skinny, light bone limbs, looking more like a Great Dane with a pit bull cross. And they're saying they're swearing it's a 140-pound dog. Nowhere near the bone that this dog has, girth, none of that. And then you ask them for the head size, and they'll tell you 28 inches, which is bigger than this dog's head, which it's impossible when you got a terrier head on a dog. So what ends up happening, or has happened in this community, it's a game of bullshit. Literally. I wish we could play a card game. You know that card game bullshit? I wish we could do the same thing with the bully community. Be like, oh, my dog is this, that, and the third. Okay, bullshit. Let's go to this third-party vet that's going to weigh the dog and take the dog's head and all that and give us their third-party measurements. Because 99.9% of the time, the numbers you're seeing thrown out there are made up, man. It's really that simple.
Can you hear me again?
Yeah, man, you froze there for a second. I was here. Did he blink?
I don't know. Yeah. My brother didn't pay his bill or something. It keeps this Wi-Fi
flickering. Yeah.
Oh, I got one more question for you, and then we can stop. Uh, of course, I don't know how much of this is true or hype or whatever, but I know in American Bulldogs, when you sell somebody a puppy, we have certain type of guarantee. You know, there's a different. Everybody's a little different.
Yeah.
But it's usually just a replacement guarantee. If you're usually it's reserved for like if you're a breeder, if you're a pet person and there's some chronic problem or by God forbid there's something you got to put the dog down for. Yeah, then I just replace the puppy. I don't refund their money. But okay, we don't sell American Bulldogs for $10,000 puppies or 5,000. They don't go for that kind of money.
Right.
What is the industry standard or what is typical when it's like I see people they're charging 8 grand, 10 grand, whatever, 5 grand. When somebody buys a dog, American Bully, what are they expecting and guarantee? Especially like they buy it with papers and they want to breed it someday. And let's say it turns out it's got terrible hits or elbows or entropia or something.
First of all, 99% of the breeders out here are not even doing the basic genetic testing. They will not do OFA testing. So nothing is guaranteed. The thing about our breed is that it's so sexy. The dogs are muscular and so good looking and well behaved. Once you socialize them, they're so sociable that people see the dogs more as an accessory. And so they got to have what shines, what looks shiny to them. I don't know if the allure of the big breeder or what it is, but they will go pay $2,000 deposit. And recently I posted on my Facebook account. In fact, let me bring it up. I want you to see how pathetic, some people or even how the community is in general. Okay. You froze over there, so I came back over here.
Sorry. What's going on?
Let me show you how pathetic they can be at times. Okay. So there's a lot more to this story here, but this is all I could post at the time I posted it. And I wrote on there, don't allow yourself to be in this situation. So look what the person texted me. Hello, Raul. Looking to set up a consult to help me pick a puppy. I'll be flying into DFW to physically see the pups Friday, September 26th, early afternoon. They will be a few days shy of 5 weeks. So at 4 weeks, she's picking a pup. Breeder has some things going on that he's asked me to narrow my choices to 2 by 5 weeks before I pay the deposit. Wanted to see how your schedule looked so I'd be able to FaceTime you if you're available. So I put on there, sorry, bro, selling you a puppy at 5 weeks is unethical. Sounds more like a scam. I don't want to be a part of that. Now, a lot of people that answered on here were saying they're not buying the puppy at 5 weeks. Listen, I totally understand that this person is not buying a puppy at 5 weeks. The mere fact that the breeder is forcing them to pick by 5 weeks, to me, that's unethical. Also, for them
they're just not taking it home that day.
Yeah, I could have joined the unethical gang. This person was more than willing to pay me. I could have said, yeah, $100. I'll tell you which puppy to pick at 5 weeks. Bro, at 5 weeks, you're picking colors. There's nothing there that there's nothing there. Right?
Yeah,
So,
and the truth is things even change after 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks. Little, I mean, not always, but some little things can change and physically, all kinds of shit can happen. But I mean, mentally, things can be a little different.
Well, what's sad about this, we had some comments on that post where people were okay. Oh, it sounds like the breeder needs her to narrow it down. Listen, what are you narrowing down at 5 weeks? The way I see it and the way we do it is you buy picks. It's like the NFL, for example, right? First pick, second pick, third pick, the The lower the number, the higher it costs to pick. But you don't make your pick until the puppies are 10 weeks. I don't care if that breeder's holding the puppy to 10 weeks. If he's forcing you to pick at 5, that's unethical to begin with, bro. This dude, and not only that, when that person stated the breeder has things coming up and he wants me to narrow my choices from 5 to 2. What do you think that breeder's doing, bro? That breeder's applying pressure. That's all he's doing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's how this community works, man. And it just is
so
what
typical,
it is.
Like typical people that buy dogs pay the big bucks. Like a breeder's going to pay really good money for a dog, and it craps out. Something genetically pops up that just no way. If you bred that dog, you're an idiot. But they just spent 10 grand, you know, 7 grand, and got the ear crop and all the other stuff, and
they're going to breed it. And they're going to breed it.
But as a breeder, what's the breed standard in this? Are they like, hey buddy, it's as is, you know, you don't get a guarantee on nothing.
Well,
or is it, I'll replace it.
Here's the thing, Vito. I could talk to you about me and my yard and how we run it. There is no breed standard. And at first I was like, oh, well, breeders are trying to scam people because that's just the way I'm wired. But then as a breeder, I started realizing that people were trying to scam the shit out of me. For example, I had a guy in Orlando. He swore to me that he was what's it called? He was a lawyer student, He was going to school to become a lawyer. That's what he swore to me, whatever. Long story short.
Flag number 1.
Yeah. So this dude was feeding his pup, overfeeding the pup, and feeding grain-free. This is before this I forget the name of the ingredient. There's a name of an ingredient that they taurine. This is before taurine was required. I don't know if it was required by AFCO or if people realize, oh, if they're putting taurine, we got to put taurine. Otherwise, we're not going to sell dog food. But at the time, they were selling grain-free without taurine. Okay, so grain-free dog food was being linked to DCM, dilated cardiomyopathy. So they started including taurine as an ingredient, which was stopping the the dilated cardiomyopathy, was bypassing it, so you could feed grain-free. But it hadn't happened yet. So this guy, pup is at 6 months old, hits me up out of the blue. He's yelling and screaming at me, talking about his pup has a grade 2 murmur. I'm like, okay, hold up, bro. You're a law student, right? Yeah. Okay. Did you not read the contract? You got 72 hours to take your dog to the vet from the time you get it from me. That's number 1. Number 2, you're feeding grain-free. You know, the studies that are coming out with heart murmurs and whatnot, ending up in dilated cardiomyopathy because you're feeding grain-free. So what I learned from that situation, Lou, is that you have to be very careful as far as how you do a health guarantee, because their ignorance, and I don't mean it in a derogatory way, but this guy, after I spoke to him, he kind of said, okay, I realize what's going on. I kind of screwed up here. I also told them that a grade 2 on a 6-month-old pup, if you change the feed, she might come back to a grade 1. And guess what? She did. Okay. So, but you got to be very careful, because when you give health guarantees, bro, people here are capable of doing whatever to, let me give you an example. I had a guy that bought a dog from me, and he ended up going to jail. I don't even know for what. Okay. But 6 weeks after he bought the pup, I get a call from his wife. And she says, I'm seeing here on the contract that you have right of first refusal for the pup. I said, that is correct. You know, she was moving because he's now in jail, so she had to go move, whatever. She had a lot of things going on. She needed to move the dog. And I said, I have no issues. The dog can always come back here, right? But that's not what she wanted.
She wanted the
He
money,
wanted to be reimbursed in full, right? And I said, I'm sorry, I don't do that. I don't do that. I mean, the dog has a home here. I understand the circumstance changed and everything. Dog can come back here and I'll find it a pet home, but I'm not reimbursing you the money. Oh, but it says here you have right of first refusal means if you are going to get rid of the dog, you got to offer it to me first before you take it to a shelter or you do anything. The dog could definitely have a home here. Okay. But I'm not about to completely reimburse you. Okay. And what I do notice a lot of times is, there are some breeders out there that are doing some shady stuff, but there's some buyers out there that once their little circumstance changed or whatever, all of a sudden they get really creative as to how they're going to get their money back. And I feel that both things are, instead of bringing things together, they're actually pushing both further away, because as a breeder, you got to be watchful for, people playing these games. I had a guy tell me that his dog had something going on with him. I don't even remember what it was. I said, listen, not a problem. I'll guarantee you a free pup. At the time, he lived maybe 5 miles from where I'm at. I'm sorry, not 5 miles, like 5 minutes from where I'm at. And anyways, I told him, I said, bro, no issues. Bring the puppy back. I'll have you pick another pup. So he shows up with a different puppy. I don't know where he brought that puppy from, but it was not my pup. This is another reason why I learned from a very long time ago. I have a little tattoo machine, and every single one of my pups, every single one of them, get a little dot somewhere. In fact, I'm going to say just one, but it may be more than one, just so I can identify that it's my dog no matter what. And when this guy came, I showed him the litter. I showed him 2 pups where the dots were, and that his dog that he brought me didn't have the dot. So I see what you're saying, Vito, and what you're thinking. Fact of the matter is there is no breed standard. There is no standard in our breed as far as health guarantees, because the minute that dog leaves your yard and is in somebody else's hands, they could be fed.
Right.
Yeah. Once that dog leaves your hands, that dog could be fed poison for all you know every Friday. And next thing you know, in 6 months, they're hitting you up talking about my dog has kidney failure. Well, hold up. That's another reason why we do genetic testing. So you're not only getting a health test from a vet that's saying everything is good, you also have a genetic test backing it up. So instead of health guarantees, in my opinion, it's more of health protection as a breeder, because I've just seen so many cockamamie stories and inventions.
I could tell you a million stories. I've replaced pups, dogs that they sent.
Man, I am losing you, bud. Man, I really want to hear that story, but I'm losing you. Vito, come on in, man, so we can sign off. Guys, I really appreciate you guys for joining us tonight. I hope you've gotten some good information, especially with the subtle signs and symptoms. There's Vito. Vito, go ahead and sign off, man. I feel like I only got about 10 seconds with you before you drop off again.
Yeah. All righty. Well, thanks again. It was good. Like I said, I always listen to you. You are like the professor of bulldogs. You got all those. I'm just not a big guy on all the little genetic, or not genetic, but health signs and supplements and all that stuff. That's why I was attracted to your channel. That and the blueberry motherfucking blue.
Oh, well, listen, bro.
gonna-
You know, my dude Adam Fields asked for it, so we got to do that before we go. Otherwise, this
I
just
love
wouldn't
it.
be the end, bro. So here we go.
Like blue eyes in a sea of blue.
There you go.
Can't hear it.
Stop thinking about you. Listen to that. Oh, yeah.
The way you walk, the way you stand, the way you do you. Blueberry motherfucker, you. That's right.
That's right.
Blueberry
Somebody saying,
motherfucker,
sing it. You know what's crazy? The views are going up. People love this song.
I love it.
This is a nation song right here.
Blueberry motherfucker, you.
Wait, I gotta put his picture on the screen. Otherwise, what am I doing?
Saving my nickels and dimes, taking my time so I can get my bone and structure from.
Is he a pocket or is he a standard?
He's a pocket. He's as pocket as they come.
I know you
So you have pockets, standards, and XLs.
I do.
got to save up.
You just don't have
I
exotics.
gotta invest in you.
No, I'm probably not gonna head in that direction.
Blueberry motherfucker.
Yeah.
You are the
He's a
best.
cute dog.
Cleaner than
He
the
is,
rest.
man. He's cuter in person.
Blue,
telling you.
sweet blue. You sexy motherfucker. You. We love you. We
Yeah, you need to play that song on every episode. I really enjoy it. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, look.
I can't believe you got that from an AI.
I did. I did.
None are like you.
That is wild. It seems like a very professional, polished song.
I did. Well, let me let it finish because I love this last.
You got me waiting and waiting, gave me the blueberry motherfucker blues.
Woo! Yeah. So, yeah, man, what's crazy is I was driving back and I've never written a song in my life. So, for some reason, I had the blues in my head because blueberry's blue. So, the blues, and also, by the way, his name is B.B. King officially, right? Through the ABKC. B.B. King. So, he was the king. B.B. King was the king of the blues, right? So, that's why I named Blueberry B.B. King, right? Makes sense. So I said, man, every time I hear blues, I hear a verse and then a stamp, right? A verse and a stamp, a verse and a stamp. And so that's what I did with that song. I would, you know, write a verse or two and hit the stamp, a verse or two, hit the stamp. AI killed it, man. I just, they couldn't do it any better. So
It's awesome. First time I heard it, I thought, "Oh man, this is incredible! I can't believe he came up with the lyrics and the computer or whatever, the AI." It's even that woman's voice.
I know. I actually have other versions of it with a male's voice. The first couple of versions were with a male's voice. When I heard her version, I was like blown away. And look, you're going to laugh, but when I'm in my car, that song is part of my playlist. So I could be hearing anything and then boom, out of nowhere, Blueberry comes on. I loved it, man. So who knows? Maybe in the future when he has pups, I'll make a couple songs for his puppies. Who knows?
You'd be making the blueberry muffin song.
Yeah. Look, Adam Fields saving my nickels and dimes, taking my time. That's a verse in the song, man. So good stuff. But listen, Vito, I love having you on, man. Love just chit chatting and talking dogs, man.
Thanks again. Really, like I said, I'm going to do these. I'm going to embark these 2 Brazilian bulls, and then I probably need to consult with you. I need to figure all that out. Like when I think about breeding them someday, I want to kind of compare and see, especially like muzzle length and size and stuff like that. Yeah. I've never, I've had plenty of dogs embark, but I never got into that. I never understood or took the time to read through all that stuff.
Yeah, it's like anything else, man. It's got little nuances, but once you learn them, it becomes second nature. And definitely once you have that, man, hit me up. I could either charge you for a consult or we could come here live and do it for free and show the world what you got, man, and make it that much more interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I don't know if I want to breed these a whole lot. I don't think I want to have a yard of 8 females, but I'd like to produce a couple big.
Yeah. Man, you're freezing up again. Vito, loved having you on, man. Guys, thank you for joining us. This has been an extended live, but it has been a good one. Guys, none but love. You already know we go live every Monday and every Friday. I'm not going to lie to you. Right now, I'm considering canceling our Friday lives and only leaving our Mondays. If we do, we'll let you guys know both through the live content and also through the community page post. Either way, guys, it's been Raw from the Q. I'll be catching you.
We are going for a whole hour, straight dog talk and the song. Jump on in and speculate. Show up on time, don't be weak and late. We are community, so don't hate.